Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you my latest project. It's been sitting over here since February and it is now September, so let's get this across to the garage. This is a big one. Right, so it's got a fully charged battery in it now and it's been sitting since February. It's got nasty stale petrol in it, so let's see how it starts. What a car! Oh my god. A little bit lumpy, but not bad. Well, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you my latest project. It is a Mazda MX5, of course, or should I give it its correct title, a Unus Roadster, because it is a Japanese import. And I bought this car for my wife for her 40th birthday because she's a bit car mad as well, and the Mark II Golf that you will have seen on the channel is actually hers too. So she had always wanted something with pop-up headlights and 2 seats and something a bit sporty. This kind of ticks that box, to be honest with you. So I absolutely love it, and I think it's been a real find. Now, this car needs some recommissioning. It has been sitting up for 17 years. Now, the engine hasn't been, because the engine had actually been swapped in. So there's a different engine in it, but it's a standard engine actually, and it has had a manual gearbox conversion. But there is a lot to be done on this car. So one of the things that needs to be done is the brakes. So what we're going to do is we're going to get it into the garage and we're going to assess it, and I'll tell you a little bit about the car, the fun I had collecting it, and what you can expect now coming down the tracks with this car and what we need to do with it. So let's get it in and get it up onto the ramp and we'll have a look. What do you reckon? I think Mazda MX-5s are pretty cool cars. Some people might say they're a hairdresser's car, but to be honest with you, they're the worthy successor to the MGB, and being that I love MGBs, why wouldn't I love this? And I can tell you, this car does actually pull along very nicely, especially for a car that's been sitting up for quite some time. To give you a brief backstory on it, I collected this from a guy down in Offaly who had bought it as a project that he never finished, and basically he had done the engine swap and manual gearbox conversion. He stopped short of doing things like the brakes and suspension and stuff like that. I think he did change the front struts, but don't know whether there's anything that still needs to be wrapped up on that one. But it does drive, as has been evidenced by the fact that I just drove it into the garage. I actually drove it back from Offaly, and I'll say to you this much, it was fun because the brakes are bloody awful, and the engine was not pulling well at all when I started out on the journey. But a full tank of fresh petrol actually did sort that out, and by the 10 minutes after I left the garage, after throwing the petrol in it, it cleared right up and actually ran very well. It's all there, and one of the big jobs I have to do with it, aside from doing a full brake overhaul and kind of giving it a deep service and a deep clean, is now some of you are going to roll your eyes, something fierce at this. I need to put an automatic gearbox back into this. Now, I know you're cringing, but my wife cannot drive manuals, she can only drive automatics, and she wants this car. Now, I gave her the choice of, either learning to drive in manual, but there are reasons why she can't really do that. So the solution is to put the automatic gearbox back into it. Now, fortunately enough, the guy I bought it off gave me the automatic gearbox that he took out, so we'll be able to swap it back in. I bought all the other bits and pieces for it over the last few months. I bought this car back in February, and it's now September, so it's been sitting over in my neighbour's place for the last while. It was a surprise birthday present for my wife. Unfortunately, I'm useless at surprising, so she kind of knew something about it, but she hadn't seen it, so, look, she's still happy with it in the end. So first things first, I suppose, is I want to get that gearbox out of the boot, because that's where it is, and we'll put it aside, and we're not going to be doing, the gearbox swap will be done further down the line. What I want to do is just basically get it actually driving well, first of all, and then we can start kind of pulling bits like that apart. There's also a little bit of welding to be done in the front inner arch on the left hand side, not much, just a little bit, and the passenger door needs to be painted, so that'll need doing as well. And yeah, so look, let's just get stuck in and see what we're dealing with here. Now, one of the wonderful things that happened to me with this car is It was last Saturday was my wife's birthday. I went over on Tuesday to start it and just make sure everything was right, and promptly broke the key off in the boot lock. So I was I had a bit of a Basil Fawlty moment. So I was yeah, I had to go and get a fresh key cut for it. I took the lock barrel out and everything like that and brought it down to Auto Key down in Kylemore. Have to say they were very, very good, and not overly priced either. I think it was €75 to get the new key done, and they gave me 2 keys for that price as well. So a good bargain on that one anyway. So yeah, so to pop open the bonnet, I left the light cluster is still not bolted into place yet. So to open that, reach in here, and there is a rod which we need to locate and just go like that. And the first thing we'll be doing is we'll be putting that lock back in after we get the gearbox out, but the gearbox is there. So let's get an engine hoist and a chain, lift that big lump of metal out of there and put it at the side of the garage, and at least then we can kind of assess things a bit better. God, gearbox oil pouring all over the place. Well, it was great fun trying to lift that in there because we didn't have the benefit of an engine hoist. It was just myself and the guy I bought it off just had to handball it into the boot. So that was fun. Okay, so I have the gearbox on the dolly now anyway, so that's grand. We'll leave that in out of the way and get the engine hoist out of there. And then we can kind of assess things in the boot. There's a pair of shock struts in here as well that he gave me. I actually even forgot about them. So there's one. So there we go. And the air conditioning compressor, which the new engine didn't have aircon on it. So that's been removed from the old engine. Right, I'm going to get that boot lock refitted now while I'm at it, because, to be honest with you, it's just an inconvenience the way we have to open it at the moment. So it's not really a major ordeal to remove or refit. You just have to take a few of the bolts out of the back of this panel and remove the rear light. And then there's 2 bolts that actually hold the lock barrel in, and you can remove the rod as well. So pretty straightforward stuff. Yeah, it's amazing the amount of people who have actually asked me. It's like, oh, you were after buying a car for yourself instead of your missus. It's like, no, why can't women like cars as well? My wife likes cars, so yeah, I bought it for her. She's mad about this car, so it was a good 40th birthday present. She's absolutely thrilled with it, and this way I get to do the bit of tinkering on it, get it spruced up for her, and then we get it on the road. And yeah, all right, there's the 2 10mm bolts in for the lock, so let me just install the rod. So that's, try the key in it now before we put it all back together again. Think of my infinite wisdom, I put it in upside down. Ah yeah, we're off to a good start here. Now, obviously the reason I haven't kind of shown you this car up until now is because it was a surprise present, and kind of wouldn't be much of a surprise if I ended up doing a whole video series on it, because my wife might know about it. Yeah. Grand job. Right, okay, so now we can nip everything up there. The lock goes in completely the opposite way of the way you would think. And of course I didn't take any pictures when I removed it. So, moment of truth. Grand. Happy days. Right, that's one thing fixed on it already. Now straight away, trying to get it up on the ramp, I can see there's an issue, and that's sitting down more on the right hand side than the left, which is making it a bit of a challenge to get up onto the ramp, to tell you the truth. But that being said, it has to go up. So the trolley jack will fit in under, first of all. I only need to go up about an inch, and then we'll be able to get the lift onto it. That should do us. All right. Now we shall gingerly lift the car and see how we go. Turn on my 3-phase inverter as it's a 3-phase ramp. Okay, now let's see how we're looking. Okay, wind it up. All right, folks, welcome to the part of this car that I'm going to be spending most of my time. So, a lot of surface corrosion, but I'm not seeing anything beyond that. To be honest with you, I'm looking for an excuse to try out that Lanoguard stuff that people have been banging on about over the last while. So, this might be the opportunity to do it. We need to have a look at ball joints and bushings, and I mean, the chassis is looking very, very good. The important parts. So, and this bit here is going to have to come out. As I said, I'm sure some of you have been cringing at the thought of me removing the manual gearbox in favour of an automatic, but it is what it is, you know. That's how the car is going to be used. I mean, aside from the surface corrosion, it's really not bad at all. That's grand. That belt is very loose, so that explains why it was squealing like a banshee outside. So, shock strut is looking a bit furry. It might be the reason why he gave me new shock struts. Maybe he had every intention of putting them in himself and just didn't get around to it. The bumper was red at some stage. Aircon condenser or evaporator is still there, which is nice. Actually, that is the condenser, the evaporator's inside. Still there anyway, which is good because I do want to actually reinstate that if I can. We have a bit of an engine oil leak going on. Look, these are the type of things that we can kind of tackle as we go. But you know what, folks? It's not bad. Not bad at all. I'll change the rubber brake hoses as a matter of course. And I'm not going to completely load up the parts cannon on this now, but we will change any of the kind of safety related items. That brake hose is feeling very spongy, if you know what I mean. I know it's hard to tell from here, but the brakes were binding on it, so it explains it. So let's get it down, get it into my teeth, and we'll have a look and see what we're dealing with the front brakes anyway, first of all. I have actually been doing a bit of shopping on this already, so I've already got new brake discs and pads for the front. I didn't get calipers because I didn't know whether we'd need them or not, or whether we'd go down the route of getting just caliper rebuild kits or used ones or what. Like, so yeah, as I said, I'm not going to just throw parts at it willy-nilly. We want to actually be strategic on our approach on this. So yeah, the other thing as well then is up here is where the corrosion is that we need to address. So I'm going to just show you that here now as well. So you see that slot in there? It was rotten there and a lot of it was cut out, but the new metal hasn't been welded in yet, so that just needs to be done. And this wing here isn't actually bolted in properly yet. So yeah, that's why it's kind of sitting funny, but that will be addressed. It's a simple enough job. Right. Well, this one isn't locked up anyway, so that's one thing. The one on the other side is, where are the bloody brake pads? Hang on a second. I've heard of this happen, but I've never actually seen it happen. The brake pad must have completely fallen out. Sometimes what can happen is the brake pad wears too thin. It can actually slip out between the discs. That definitely had a brake pad in it. So, I mean, I know I kind of took my chances when I was driving it home, but bloody hell, like. We need to get that caliper off first of all anyway. It's completely seized up. So, Jesus wept. All right. That's unreal. Oh my God. Right. Need to get a socket on there and buzz those out. Get this caliper off. I actually want to get we may as well just break the brake line there as well and get that off now, because that flexi hose is going to be getting replaced one way or another. So we'll get that all soaked down and get we'll take it off there, remove this, remove the caliper, get the disc off as well. I have a new disc for it too, so we'll be and new pads. So we'll have to doctor up the caliper, see what we can actually do with it. If we can resurrect this one, then great. That's exactly what I will do. If not, we'll just have to change it, won't we? Right, that wasn't tight at all. I mean, it was tight, but it wasn't stitched. There we go. Okay, so that's the caliper unbuttoned. So let's get a spanner onto that fitting over there. Right, so just undoing the brake line here. What you really don't want happening is for you to twist the brake line as well, because if you do that, you're going to break it. So fortunately enough, that hasn't happened in this instance. It's actually just coming out fairly handy, which definitely bodes well for how things might go for this job. I'm really not overly concerned about letting all the brake fluid piss out, because we're going to be changing it anyway, so it doesn't matter. Alright, let's buzz this caliper off. At least the hardware is not bent into it anyway, that's something. Oh, on the move. Alright, well at least we had one brake pad on it. And one brake pad that actually has a bit of meat on it. That's the bit I don't get. Alright. Well anyway, look, yeah. It is what it is. That's why we're in here. Sliding pins are seized up on it. I'd say that's probably what the main issue is. But we'll need to try a brake caliper or brake piston wind back tool and everything like that. See if we can push that piston back in. Let's see, the wheel bearings are sounding. I might do a set of wheel bearings in this too. Oof, yeah. Right, we'll get a set of wheel bearings into it as well. Ah, yeah. And let's just keep on coming. Right. Things are not moving as freely on this side anyway, so that caliper is definitely seized as well. So two seized front calipers. Let's get the wheel off. Well, there's the reason why it's sitting on its arse on this side. Well, that's broke. Holy shit. Oh my God. I have a funny feeling this is going to be one of those cars I'm going to just, it's just going to be the gift that keeps on giving. So, yeah. And that's not coming off easily. Now, what I would recommend at this point in time to all you folks doing this type of job at home is, rather than trying to get a ring spanner or an open-ended spanner on that and just making an absolute muck of it, get vice grips on it and just clamp it, and then just try and wiggle it back and forth and see if you can break it loose that way. But make sure, as I said, you don't twist the brake pipe. Alright, so I have the brake pipe undone there anyway. That one did put up a little bit of a fight, but it's off now and it didn't damage the brake pipe in the end, so all's well that ends well. So now we're going to get our 14mm bolts undone here to allow us to take off the caliper. Alright, so now we buzz them out the rest of the way and we get that caliper off. I'd say that's going to require the use of a lump hammer, and when we have them off, then at least we know what we're looking for and what we can do with these calipers. As I said, if I can rejuvenate these calipers, that's what I will do, but if I have to replace them, then I will replace them. I'm just looking at the writing on the shock strut in here. That would suggest that this was replaced. I mean, how bad was the old one if this is what it was replaced with? Genie Mac. Right, okay, fair enough then. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on a second. The disc is coming off along with the caliper. That might play to her favour if we can get it off the last little bit. No, I think I need to I'll just throw that back on, just put a note on there, get the caliper off, and then we can separate the caliper from the disc. Okay, so now yeah, it's a better job. There we go. Right, there's that caliper off now. Still a bit of meat left on the pads. Obviously I'm replacing them, it's just an observation, but yeah, that one is... The sliding pins are see solid in that as well. Actually, sliding pin calipers are shite. Like, in fairness, I don't understand what's wrong with just having the old style calipers that had a piston on each side. The MG and the Beetle behind you guys here have that, so like, why did they move away from it? Cost, I suppose, like everything else. Alright. Well, there's the disc off now anyway as well. At least that comes off quite easily. So we have new ones of them. And wheel bearing on this side's not sounded too bad, but you replaced them in pairs anyway, so... I'm just looking, I'm wondering, is this one of those setups where you literally buy the entire hub with the bearing and everything already in it? I wouldn't be opposed to that idea if that was the case, or just change the whole bloody lot. So, yeah, of greater concern is that shock absorber. I mean, bloody hell, that's appalling. Like, the spring is broken in 3 places by the looks of things. Like, so they changed the engine. They changed the lower wishbones on both sides. They changed the strut. They changed the gearbox. I'd have to wonder, was this car absolutely rallying around the place at one time or another? Just throwing it out there. Anyway, look, it's in good hands now, and I'll be making sure to give it the love and attention it deserves. I've got my work cut out for me here, but nothing I can't handle. So what I need to do now is put a shopping list together and actually start buying a few parts. I have some already, but there's going to be plenty more parts I am going to need. Rubber hoses, wheel bearings. I might just see about how much a set of shock absorbers for the front of this are, like complete strut assemblies, and maybe get a set of bushings as well for it. Need track rod ends as well, and yeah, it'll cost a few quid, but at least then when we have everything ready and off the bench, I can do things like painting the components while they're off the car. Maybe even look at getting them powder coated. There's a local place that does it, so we might do that as well. So yeah, sure, look, stay tuned anyway, folks. There's a lot to be done in this car, but we're only at the beginning. We're only scratching the surface, and I'm going to enjoy this one, so I hope you do too, and I will catch you in a future video. Please do hit the subscribe button before you go, and hit the like button below as well. And if you hit the little bell icon, you'll get a notification every time I have a new video up. So yeah, hope I'll catch you soon. Thanks for watching.